This has been one of the hottest summers on record, but as you can see, my garden is actually looking fairly decent. I know I've said this 1,000,001 times before on this channel, but I cannot stress the importance of mulching your containers. I've used different types of mulch. I've got my whelk shell mulch, I have straw mulch, I've even used leaf litter as a mulch. The whole point of the mulch is to cover the surface of the soil. That stops water from inside the pot from transpiring, but it also stops the sun from getting into your compost, which bakes the container out. So if you haven't already, make sure that you are mulching your containers. I need you guys to be 100% honest with me. Who watching this video uses peat-free compost? I do, but the problem with peat-free compost is that it doesn't hold moisture because it doesn't have the peat. And so when you put that with a container like a terracotta pot doesn't hold moisture. So you've got soil that doesn't hold moisture, and you've also got a terracotta pot which also doesn't hold moisture. So that puts you already at a major disadvantage. One tip I would pass on to you guys is if your garden is hot and windy like mine and you're using peat-free compost, maybe you should step away from using terracotta pots. You could instead use something like a plastic pot. If you are really intent on using terracotta pots, what you could do is line it with a Hessian sack. You could also even just use an old compost bag. If you are able to line your pots in some way, shape or form, that will help with the moisture loss in your containers. A question I always get asked on this garden is, when is the best time to do your watering? For me, it's either early in the morning or in the evening. If you can do both, great. If you can only do one of those, I'd always opt for the afternoon/evening. And I found on this garden is because once I do that watering, it gives the plants a bit of a time to kind of perk up and bounce back. And then by the time they get to the morning, they're ready to try and face the day. But often, if I just do the watering in the morning, the plants don't have enough time to bounce back, and then they go straight into wind or sun. So for me, it's the evening. By August, it's highly likely that your containers are looking slightly ropey. So one of your August gardening jobs are to make sure that you're fertilizing your containers. Now, a friend of mine made this, which is a comfrey fertilizer. I try to keep everything as organic as possible. You can also make a fertilizer out of nettles, but if you want to buy something, get yourself some organic seaweed fertilizer. But up here, from me on this garden, I have some friends who help me make my very own very special cloud garden fertilizer. Just behind my beautiful perennials is my pond. Now, what you might not know is that fish waste is a really great fertilizer. So what I do is when I'm extracting some of that pond water, I then top it up with a bit more tap water, and then I can use that as a fertilizer all throughout the garden. And that is one of the reasons why this garden is looking as great as it does. Now, if you are going to do your fertilizing, I would recommend that you do your fertilizing every couple of weeks. If you're going to use a tomato feed for your tomatoes, for example, you might want to try doing that every week or so just to help get those tomatoes to ripen. When you're watering, make sure you're watering right at the base of the plant. And also when you're watering, don't be lazy, people. You need to make sure that you don't just give your containers a little trickle. You want to make sure that you are thoroughly watering your containers all the way through. Now, if you are a balcony gardener, you might want to put some form of a tray underneath your pots as you're watering to stop it from dripping to the balcony down below. Nobody needs those passive-aggressive texts in the community's WhatsApp groups. In a previous update, you guys learned that you are now officially aunties and uncles, and you will never believe it. They've been having even more babies. Take a look. Just look at how cute they are. Oh my goodness. And there are all sorts of different colors in here. It's so cool. These guys are soon going to be big enough to join the other brothers and sisters out in the 2 growing tanks. I can't believe just how big this family is getting. My goodness. I'm still blaming you for all of this fish faunification though, because it certainly is not coming from me. As you can see, these Coreopsis flowers are completely spent. Now, I've got a choice here. What I could do is I could leave these to go to seed, or I could deadhead. Now, if I leave these to go to seed, the plant is going to spend its energy making those seeds. Whereas if I deadhead them, then that's going to encourage the plant to make some new flowers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deadhead this Coreopsis, and rather than taking the snip here, I'm going to follow it all the way down to the base. There you go. So I've got all of these spent flowers, but if we take a closer look, you can see that there are plenty more buds to come. Already, just tidying that up makes this section look so much cleaner and nicer. If we take a look at the salvia down here, you can see that I've already deadheaded those. That was about 3 weeks or so, but the plant is looking really tired, and although it's got these offshoots, it still has not decided to push up any new growth. But if we go right down to the base, you'll see there are brand new shoots down there. They're green, they're really vibrant, whereas these are really tired looking. What I'm going to do is cut back those old tired stalks, because that will allow the sunshine to get to these brand new shoots. Because of this heat wave, hopefully that will encourage these stalks to grow and then give me some new blooms. If I'm being really honest, when it comes to deadheading, it's one of my favorite activities in the garden, because it doesn't matter what mental state I'm in. If I'm feeling really low, what I find is that you get an instant visual impact, and just that alone helps to make you feel so much better. At the end of the video, I'm going to show you the difference. I'm going to show you what the garden looks like after I finish deadheading. Now it's time to propagate. Also, massive shout out to Marie Sandyford for suggesting a name for my Xanthia. We are going with Xena. And as you can see, Xena is producing another giant leaf. And just down below, we are going with the second one, her little sidekick, which is going to be called Gabrielle. If you know, you know. Wait, who is old enough to remember that tired old series? Man, we are getting old, people. Now, just behind Xena, we have the one and only Foxy Cleopatra. Earlier this year, when I planted Foxy Cleopatra, the labeling said that she was a perennial foxglove. Yeah, I know, but if you don't know, foxgloves are biennial, which means that they flower in their second year and then they unalive themselves. But Foxy over here, girl, she is here to stay. So although she's looking rather tired, in here, every single one of these has got hundreds of seeds in. So I can collect her seeds if I want to grow her again. Just remember, when you are growing from seed, it's a completely new plant. It might have completely different characteristics, but Foxy is doing something a little bit different. If we look at the base of the plant, you will see that she has made lots and lots of different pups. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to chop back her main stem. Now that we've cut the stem off, you can see that the plant is getting way more light. In order for the propagations to be successful, you need a really good compost mix. So what I have here is just some of my peat-free compost. But what I'm going to do to make sure that there is good aeration in the soil is I'm going to add some perlite. So I've got a bag of perlite here. You should be able to pick up some perlite from your local garden centre, or you could just simply order it from Amazon. So I'm going to put some of this into this mixture and then mix it all up. Now, if you look closely, you can see exactly where the new pups have come from the base. So what you want to do is make an incision right there at the base. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop it into its brand new container with our propagation mix. Now you'll notice that I've got this right at the side of the container, and the soil in the edges of the container are slightly warmer than the soil in the center of the pot. And also, as the roots start to grow, they'll reach the side of the pot and then start to work their way down, which is going to make the plant far stronger. I wish somebody taught me that ages ago, or actually explained why, as opposed to just saying this is what you have to do. So I hope that was a helpful tip for you. Then I'm going to place it just down here. Now this is the shadiest corner of my garden. I don't want the plant to be stressed at all, so you don't want it to be in full direct sunlight. After that, it's time to give it a good thorough watering, and hopefully we are going to get some brand new Foxy Cleopatras on this garden. Now, one thing I could do is, you see this lower one down the bottom, if I pile up some soil, as soon as that comes into contact with that soil, it will start to make new roots from its base as well. Once it's got some new roots in its main pot, I can then just make an incision and then lift that plant up and then put that into its own container. I know how much you guys love my arches, and yes, the grapes are coming along perfectly. But the biggest issue that I have on the arch right now is this damn wisteria. It has completely overgrown this arch this year. It's put on the most growth that it has in 5 years. So what you want to do is you want to find yourself some of these shoots, these big long runners, work your way right down to the base and then go up 5 leaves and then make a snip. There you go. It really pains me to have to do that, but it's for the greater good. So I'm going to go and do that now for every single one of the really long brand new shoots. Well, it's been a minute since the Cloud Gardener apron has been on, but I keep making a mess on my white clothes. So what I've got here is a container, and this is around about 26 centimeters wide and 28 centimeters deep. This is the container that I'm going to sow some of my brassicas in. Now, I said in my what to sow in August video that you need a large pot. This is probably the smallest pot that I would go for. So today I'm going to start sowing my brassicas. I'm going to sow some cauliflower today, and I'm also going to be directly sowing some chard as well. August is also a perfect time to check your plants for pests. Of course, I had a couple of hookers here and a tiarella, and just look at this. After using nematodes earlier on this year, I thought I was finally free of the shackles of vine weevils. One of the main culprits other than vine weevils are these damn aphids, but I have a hack for aphids. I've got them all collected up in this little tub. Just look at them, and that is just off one flower on the clematis. It never stood a chance. And neither will these guys. Let me show you. I don't know why, but that feels really satisfying. But I'm wondering whether the extra source of protein is one of the reasons why these guys are so active this year. Now, the last thing to do if you've got a pond is to do a bit of pond maintenance. So you can see I've got some dying lily pads in here. Some of the grasses have fallen in. So what I'm going to do is cut some of that back, take that out, because all of those extra nutrients will end up causing algal blooms in the pond. So time to clear it all. And actually, if you look, those are snail eggs. I don't need any more of those. Ooh, all over this garden, these damn snails are just doing the do. 3, 4. Ooh. This is the most ghetto garden on YouTube, I swear. I did not teach him this ratchet behavior. This is you. This is all you. The last thing to do with your container ponds is to make sure that you top them up. Bring that water level right back up to the top. Okay, now it's time to get to work. I'm going to start off with the deadheading. And just as a friendly reminder, when you are deadheading, don't forget that each one of these flower heads contain so many seeds. So if there is a plant that you genuinely love, put these seeds in an envelope, let them dry out, and then next year you can use those for free. A few hours later, and the garden is beginning to look itself again. Look at how much better the garden looks. After cutting back all of my salvias, they now are prepped and primed and ready to go again, with hopefully a second blush in a few weeks' time. Some of my blue spire salvias are now coming out, and my red hot pokers, I can now start to see them again too. The arches are now looking so much better, and look, my beans, I can finally see them, and the clematis is flowering too. All in all, the garden now looks so much better. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you all again very, very soon. Bye!